Well, hello there. Kind of snuck up on me. I love the way that timer just counts down and then all of a sudden it's just gone and you're standing there going, "Oh, it's me. I'm live. I'm not Memorex." Well, hello, hello. I hope you've had a great weekend. Sandy with Quilted Treasures and More here. So glad to see you on this messed up weekend. I don't know. Am I the only one who's still messed up from the time change? I mean, I feel like the days have gone faster, but they're supposed to be longer, if that makes any sense. So that's where I've been all week long. I don't know. All right, so I'm going to back out and show you what I've been working on this afternoon. Now, you saw the picture of it completely blank and there was nothing on it, but there's a lot to this one color wise and shading wise. You can see the ears, and this is a full 20-inch door hanger. This is not a smaller uh, easel art piece like I have been doing some weeks. So this is a full 20-inch. Of course, you can see it doesn't want to fit on the full screen here. So, and I will probably at some point raise my camera up just a little bit higher so it's easier to see the 20-inch ones. But I've been working on him, and so I've gotten some of the basic stuff done, some of the shading done, but I wanted to show you primarily about the beard. So the beard, there's a technique that I learned that I use for making all of the little whiskers and things. As you can see, I've done a little bit of shading on the outer edges of the beard, but I wanted to just kind of sit here and play with the beard a little bit and show you how I did that technique. Also, I'm going to work on the flowers, and so I'm going to probably start with them. They're going to be a little bit different than what I sometimes do with flowers. I'm going to use an azalea pink color. Now, for those of you around the Mobile area and along the Gulf Coast where azaleas abound, if you're like me, it's kind of sad watching the azaleas, as today is the first day of spring and most of the azalea bushes are just kind of droopy and have gone past their prime of being beautiful, which is sad for the first day of spring. But with all the crazy weather that we have had, this is where we end up. So we have beautiful azaleas, but unfortunately, with the up and down temperatures, we end up with them blooming early. And while they're beautiful, it just feels off when you hit spring and the azaleas have already basically had their lifespan. It was always the cool thing when my daughter was younger to take pictures of her with the azaleas for Easter. And it's been crazy because it seems like the last few years the azaleas have bloomed and died back by the time Easter gets here. So here's what I'm doing different with this one. I'm taking white. I didn't rinse my brush. I'm just dipping right in the white. And I am just going to come around and create some lighter colored petals in the middle. And then I'll come back and do some outline marks with black just to make it stand out a little more. So I'm starting with my azalea pink color, and then from there, I'm adding white. I'm not rinsing my brush, just picking up white and adding that into the center of the flower. So it's a little bit different than some of the other flowers I've done. And just kind of mix the colors a little bit. And so it ends up kind of being a mixture, the outer being a little darker and the inside of the flower being lighter. Okay, so I'm going to leave that and let that dry really well, but you got a glimpse of what one of there's so many different styles and techniques that you can do with flowers, but you saw how one of the ways that you can do some flowers, one way is to do a shading where you dip your brush in two colors and work that way, which is what I did here. I did some shading on the hat and also on the lower portion of the hat, as well as the outside of the beard, where I actually have the majority of my brush dipped in white, but the tip I dip in gray for the beard. All right, so now I'm going to work on the beard itself. So I'm going to push that back and I'm going to inch him up just a little bit. Let me move my water bottle. I think some of my paint stuff keeps inching this way. Maybe one of those weeks where I time out and clean off the crafting table to try to get some more room back in my crafting spot here. Sometimes I have to do that. I just have to pause and take a little breather and try to I think I'm gonna go, well, I don't know. You know what? I'm gonna stick with the lighter gray. I was gonna go with just a slightly darker shade of gray, but I think I'm gonna stick with the lighter. Okay, so I am going to put some light gray in the lid here, and I'm going to keep the black handy because I may need that in just a few minutes. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get just a liner brush, and what it is it's just a round brush that's a little bit longer than the others sometimes. And I'm just going to start making some streaks. Some of them can be long, some of them can be short. Some of them can go all the way up to the top. But I'm just going to start making some streaks. And what it amounts to is I end up layering, and I'm going to go from the bottom on some of them because some of them might be a little darker toward the bottom than they are toward the top. So I'm not going to do a lot of the darker streaks where I've done the shading. And the reason being, I'm going to let there be just a little bit of shadow on the edge of his beard. But most of the whisker look is going to be in the middle. So this is how I did the whisker. If you've seen the other gnomes that I've done the whiskers for them like this. I did with Christmas stuff. I did Santa's beard like this. Some lines I do thicker, some lines I do thinner. There's a really cool technique. I actually saw a lady post several pictures on her Facebook page where she had done some Santa Claus door hangers and different things for Christmas this past year, and she had used this technique, and the beards were just, she's a lot better at it than me. Basically, is what I'm trying to say. She it was just unreal. It looked like you could walk up and touch it and it would be fuzzy. And so I actually, along with several other people, sent her a message and said, "How do you do that?" And she was kind enough to share a video with us on how she created the look. And so there were quite a few of us that were like, "Oh my gosh, we've got to try this." And so several of us started posting pictures of some of the things that we were doing that had the beard look, the whiskery look to our Santa Claus, and then of course gnomes were a big thing too. So I did a couple of Christmas gnomes, and then I've done a couple of just generic kind of gnomes. And now this one is an Easter gnome. And I know you're probably looking at this going, wow, it looks a lot like a zebra. Well, there's more than one part to this, so just hang on tight with me. Got something on his rabbit foot. Have to get that off in a little bit. Okay, so I think I'm just about through with the gray part. Gonna rinse my brush here. And now I'm gonna start with white. And I know you're probably looking at this going, but it's white up underneath. It is, but when you start to go over the top and you start streaking white, it's gonna cover part of the gray. And what that does is create this wonderful layered look of whiskers. It also softens up the gray so that it looks like they're layered. Well, hello, Charlie. Our dog Charlie has decided to venture behind me here. If you hear some strange noise like he has fallen or tripped over something, he's okay, I promise. He likes to get over here by my chair, and then he likes to trip over the the feet of the chair for some reason. The legs of the chair, the feet of the chair, the legs of the chair. So this little part takes a while. That's one reason why I had started on this one a little earlier and was not going to sit here and do the whole thing with y'all because it would take a little while because the beard part itself takes a little bit of time. Over Christmas, when I did a Santa Claus on the live, I I didn't do the beard as far as the whiskers go because I knew how long it would take. And what you do is you just keep going back and forth and layering. And you can also come back and do a different shade of gray, or you could even add in black whiskers if you wanted um, a really salt and peppery kind of look. You could also paint the beard gray, a light gray, and do whiskers with white and a little bit darker gray. So it would give an interesting look that way too. Don't forget to say hello so I'll know who's watching and who is hanging out with me this evening. If you're watching on the replay, give me a hello as well. I'll send a hello back. I always check my comments. This week, I have been working on a business board as well as a garage sign and also a um, housewarming gift. And I started the beginnings of another housewarming gift earlier, just before I started working on my gnome friend here, my little Easter Bunny gnome. So I've been doing a few things this week. So I'll back up. You can kind of see how that's beginning to look. And so I just kind of go over several times, just streaking the white. and letting it go over the top of the gray. That way it kind of softens the gray a little bit, makes it look like they're layered. I'll do this one more time, and then what I want to do is do a little bit of quick outlining. My flowers are kind of getting close. I can keep layering the beard once we finish up. And sometimes by the time I get to about the third or fourth round, I do shorter strokes. And then what that does is just kind of fill in between the longer strokes. And I just keep layering. And the thing about this, it's kind of cool because uh, I don't spread the paint out a lot. I'll leave it where it kind of is um, mounded, I guess is one way you can describe it, where the paint almost creates a little hill. So rather than being smooth, it has a textured look to it. And so that's one reason why I dip so frequently is because I want it to have a layered look and also look like the whiskers are actually just laid, laid on top of each other. So I'm just working my way back across one more time. And depending upon how much gray I want or how much white uh, I want, like I said, I could come back with a little bit of a darker gray and kind of feed into a few places, or I could come back with uh, even some black and feed in some places and just keep layering until I get his beard the way I want it to look. So- Okay, so that's a quick little tutorial, I guess you could say, on how I do the beards in either the gnomes or on the Santa Clauses. So now I'm going to get a little bit of black, and what I'm going to do is I am going to work on my flowers a little bit. And I'm just going to give them a little bit of a structure, a little bit of an outline where you can kind of see a little better what the flowers are looking like. And I'm going to try not to stick my hand all in the beard. So I'm just I'm going to keep this liner brush that I had, and I'm just going to take and do a few strokes here and there. I can also come back with white and highlight some of these marks that I have. And I may do that as well. So there's some there. And basically all I'm doing is making what looks like a bunch of commas or parentheses. Just to give a little outline to the various petals in the flower. And like I said, I can even come back with white, even though there's white in there already. I can't come back with white and add in a little bit more on the outline. Oh, I had something else I was going to do real quick. All right, I am going to work on the carrots real quick. So I'm just going to outline a few things while we're still here together and just show you how I get some of the little outlines done on different parts of the door hangers. Like I said, I wanted to show the beard, how I do the beard technique, mostly tonight, and the flowers, because this is a different type flower than what a lot of times I will do. So, and I'm trying not to stick my hand in my and the paint of the flowers that I just put on there. Because soon as I do that, then I've got to turn around and grab a baby wipe and try to get all that taken off and all that good stuff. Okay, now since this is a bunny gnome, we're going to give this bunny some whiskers. So I'm just going to come out here with my black and I'm going to put a few little whiskers on my bunny gnome. Most of this is almost dry. There's still a few little white areas that I see that are a little bit wet. Ah, that's what happens when you try to do it backwards. I should have gone that way. Would have made it a little bit more uniform. And then I'm just going to give our little gnome a little grin. I did find some of the white that is still wet, so that's okay. While I've got my black, I'm going to go ahead and start kind of outlining a little bit and let you see what it looks like as it's getting its final touches put on it. And like I said, there was so much to this one. I've actually been working on this one for a little bit. So I was kind of glad that I didn't try to do the entire gnome on the live, but just kept it to where I was showing y'all a couple of aspects that I was going to work on. I work better with outlining if I can plant one of my fingers, whether it's my pinky finger or this one. If I can get an anchor going, then I can get my outline a little neater. All right, I'm gonna do the outline of the paw pads, the little paw pads here on my little bunny feet with white. So I'm gonna stick to black going around the edge. And most of the time, y'all know that I do this with paint pens, but sometimes I like to do it with paint. If you've watched for very long, you know I'll say that sometimes I like the look of the paint versus the paint pen. Just depends on the door hanger or the project that I have in front of me. I'm going to outline the hat real quick because I know I can keep my hand out of the paint from the whiskers and the beard. So I'm just going to outline this part. Get our outline between our carrot and our hat. And come over here and do the same. I've got to fix the leaves on my flowers up here. They undoubtedly I didn't have my paint shook up real well, and so it kind of created a weird looking color for the green. So I've got to come back and work on my leaves here momentarily. But I'm going to go ahead and I did some shading on the leaves of the carrots, and I did some shading on the bunny ears and the hat. Can't really see the hat real well on camera. That's the only thing about the lights and the camera sometimes. It looks very different in person than what it does when you're looking at it on the live. And I am almost out of black. All right. Oh, and I ended up off camera doing the last little outline here on the side. So I'm going to spin him around so that way I can get to his ears without um, going across paint, because I know what's going to happen if I try to reach across all those different colors of paint. I am going to end up getting my hand all in the paint. And so instead of making a big old mess, I'll just flip the little friend around, our little gnome friend, and work on the bunny ears that he's wearing this way. All right, I may or may not go all the way around with that. So do a little bit more black, and then what I'm going to do is do a few white highlights, and we'll be pretty much finished with our Easter Bunny Gnome. Like I said, I started it early because there was quite a bit to this with all the shading of the ears and uh, just the different colors that he had. I decided it might be a lot easier just to go ahead and do some of it ahead of time rather than try to do it all live, because it probably would have gone for a good little while. I've actually been sitting here relaxing and painting for a good little bit. Just going to make a little bit of an outline here on the top of his hat. And then I'm going to come back and outline our carrot. Get the other part of his hat there. Okay, so the carrots are outlined. The flowers I'm going to outline in white. So I'm getting ready to change to white and do a little bit of outlining and shading in the white. So on the leaves now, looking at our leaves on our carrots, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create just some lines, like if we were looking at, um, if we were actually out in the carrot patch looking at the leaves of the carrot, it'd be broke up a little bit more than this, but sometimes you have limitations on what you can do on canvas and wood. So we do our best. You could also take a little bit darker. I have a royal fuchsia that you could actually go in and add a little bit of extra color if you didn't want to go in with white to make extra color. Since I did use white in the center of the two flowers, we could use a royal fuchsia that would make the flowers stand out a little more. All right, so I got a couple of spots with the black here that I managed to get kind of light colored. So we're just gonna try to finish up the outline here on the bottom of the beard because I don't want to miss getting the outlines done on the bottom here. So that way you can see, oh, I forgot his nose. Let's get his nose. That way we can see it outlined pretty well. All right, one more curve on the nose, and then we're going to change to the white, I believe. I think I got everything covered in the black. You could add some lines or some designs to his hat if you wanted to. I may do a little bit with the white. I'll have to come back with the black and fix my leaves with my flowers once I get those. They don't look too bad on camera, but looking at them here, they're very splotchy. Undoubtedly, either the paint didn't mix right when I mixed it up, or something. I'm not real sure, but we're going to see what we can do about getting our paint fixed here on our leaves so that way it looks a little better. Okay, now for white. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with going around my bunny feet here. So I'm going to be off for just a second while I go around this one. But I'm just going to kind of outline these in the white so that way they stand out pretty good. And it gives it a little different look than what I did with the entire bunny foot when I outlined it with black. Y'all, most of the time I have to trace around something to get circles. And I know these are not perfect, but I actually did these by hand. So I was quite proud of myself a few minutes ago. Well, it's been a little bit ago. Not really a few minutes. It's been a little longer than a few minutes. I was like, "Oh my goodness, I actually made a semi-round circle." Normally, I have to trace something. Of course, I say that and now I'm going to outline it and make it all crooked. Maybe I shouldn't have outlined it. I should have left it. It looked pretty good. With the change in times, it's funny to hear the kids in the neighborhood that hang out later now that there's more daylight. So sitting here painting, I can hear some of the ones in the neighborhood out in their yards and having playtime and stuff and getting to stay out a little longer. But it has been really weird for me. I mean, I don't know if y'all have been experiencing this or not, but they say in the winter the days get shorter and in the summer the days get longer. Well, for whatever reason this week it has been like uh, every time I turn around the day is just gone and I'm like, where did it go? You're thinking it shouldn't have gone that fast. Things should still be, like 2 or 3 o'clock, and it's not. It's 5 o'clock. So I don't know. Maybe it's just me. All right. So all I'm doing is just adding some white highlights to my carrots and to the nose and the bunny feet. And I think I'm going to turn him around to get to the bunny ears because the bunny ears are big and I'm going to try not to go through all the different colors of paint that I've got here. So I'm going to do white on the opposite side. A lot of times you'll see me outline everything in black. Well, this one I'm going to do half and half. So I'm going to do half black and half white. And so it's just a little bit different. And I think before I wrap up, I am going to get the darker pink. I'll be using royal fuchsia and do just a little bit more on the flowers. So this week on the crafting table, I have another housewarming gift that I'll be starting, as well as gosh, y'all, I've drawn a blank. I know I've got a couple of other things that I'm going to be working on. Let me think. This is where I have to write everything down because when I have a moment where I can't remember, I just go look where I wrote it all down. And then that way I don't have to really think hard about it. I don't want to hear any old age comments, okay? All right, so now I am going to grab the Royal Fuchsia real quick, and we're going to add just a little bit darker color to our flowers here just to give it a little bit of variation, and then we'll be pretty much all wrapped up unless I want to go back and add some more to the gnome's beard. So, question is, should I add more or should I not? Do you think it is enough of a mixture with the gray and the white, or should he be a little more white since it is an Easter? I put my scissors back up. This is a brand new bottle. And of course, I stuck it in my tray without taking the wrapper off of it. Okay, I'm just going to stick a little bit in the lid here because I'm not going to need but just a few drops, and then I'll be all through with my flowers, except for going around the edges a little bit. But I'm going to hold off on that until I can get the leaves finished, and so I've got to do a little bit of correcting on the leaves. All right, so here's what I was talking about as far as adding a little extra. So I just come in And again, I'm just making little commas, and these I'm actually making smaller. I made the black comma look very big, and so these I'm just going to make a little bit smaller and just come in and add a few here and a few there. Oh, look, I stuck my finger in that one. Shocking. This is why we have lots of baby wipes kept around the crafting table. So it just gives a little bit of a different look, adds a little more color to a flower. I've done flowers with the shading. I've done it where you mix colors like I did with this one. Okay, so just a little bit extra color in our flowers that are part of our Easter Bunny Gnome. All right, well, y'all, I hope you have a great week. If you're watching on the replay, just make sure to put hashtag replay, and then tell me hi and where you're watching from. And I know a lot of y'all are watching from hometown Mobile, whoop, whoop, and some of you are watching from Mississippi and some from Florida, but just jot in the comments where you're watching from. And also, you know what? I may add a little more white to the beard. I'm really not sure yet. We'll have to see uh, how I look at it when I step away for a few minutes and come back. So, well, keep an eye out for pictures of what's going on around the crafting table this week. And then, of course, join me next week, Sunday night, as I sit around, chit chat about things going on and just kind of paint whatever is on the crafting table at the time. Hang out with you. I may show you some techniques that I do, like tonight with the beard, and show you how I showed you how I create that. And then also, what I do with the flowers as a variation from some of the other techniques that you've seen me do with flowers in the past. Well, have a super week, and I'll see you around Facebook here and there as I post different pictures and things going on. Thanks so much for watching.